back to another episode of StichMethod. Today we're going to talk about sexy, sultry guitar solos. I'm sorry that you clicked on the thumbnail and saw me, but nonetheless we are actually going to do something that sounds sexy and sultry. This is going to be very Santana-like. I do equate his type of soloing with that type of that feel, and so we're going to talk about how to do this, but we're going to keep it really easy. Now I will mention a couple things before we begin. Link below is going to be my Oye Como Va video and also my Minor Blues cheat sheet video. Those two videos in combination with this one are going to give you a really solid soloing palette. They have all these options to kind of dip from, and the backing track that I'm looping here is really just a 2-5. It's an A minor 7 to D, which is Oye Como Va, so you can practice this over this, but it will work with any type of minor jam or Aeolian jam or Dorian jam, something that has that nice sultry feeling to it. So let's get right down to it. All right, so before we do this, we're going to use a simple Form 1 pentatonic for the entire video. If you know your Never Lost pentatonic or other boxes, you can try and do this anywhere. I might move up here in a little bit, but right now we're going to study it right here in the A minor pentatonic. So fret numbers are going to be 5, 8, 5, 7, 5, 7, 5, 7, 5, 8, and 5, 8. All right, let me adjust my chair really quickly so you can see my right hand, maybe. Okay, that's a little bit better. All right, 5, 7, 5, 8, 5, 5, 8, 5, 7, 5, 7, 5, 7, 5, 8, 5, 8. Now, if you want to know notes, you have A, C, D, E, and G over and over again. The note names aren't as important as knowing a couple of things. Number one, where is my root note? Well, that's here, 5th fret of the E, 7th fret of the D, and 5th fret of the high E. Now, in the minor pentatonic, there is only one place that is home, and that place is your root note. That's 1. So you want to know where those things are. And now, the other philosophy is everything that is not home builds tension. And so we want to learn about some specific intervals and more importantly, what to do with them. The first thing we're going to talk about is that minor third, which is here. So if my 1 is here, that's my minor third. It's the note right after a 1 in a pentatonic. Okay, 5th fret of the G. What we're doing here is a form of call and response. And this type of call and response is, it is sexier. It leads the listener into the solo and really captures them, and this is like regardless of chord tones and stuff. This is how to control someone with your conversation. So what do I mean by that? Well, in a typical call and response, there's a call and there is an answer. And in this type of call and response, the call has to end on a tension note. It can start on a root note, but it has to create the question. So the first thing we're going to listen to is what the minor third question sounds like. So I'm going to actually just turn on my distortion, and I'm going to play this little loop of A minor 7 to D. I'm going to phrase very quickly on top of this this chord progression. I'm going to end my phrase in that minor third and listen to how it begs, just begs for resolve. Now, it's a note that's very worth knowing where it is. You can hear it. It's like there's a comma in that sentence, right? But da 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 da, and wait, what else is there? And it forces you to move. So option number 1 is knowing where your minor third is, and you can do one of two things. You can call, and then you can respond, and the response is hitting a root note. And we'll talk about this very simply with a lot to do. But also, you can call, and then you can call again. And that's what I was doing in that little example. I kind of played the minor third, did a little bit of stuff, then ended again the minor third. And it was like you're asking a question or a series of questions, like what kind of car do you want? Well, what's the trim? What's the make? What's the interior? It's kind of like a series of questions, and it sets the person up for resolve. So what I'm going to do is do the same thing. I'm going to call a couple times on that question, and then I'm going to bring it home to this one here, and let's see what it sounds like. Okay. So here I brought it home to the 1, gave a very simple answer. So the minor third, if you stay on it and you hold it, creates a question. And let's talk about another interval here. The 4 does indeed create a kind of hold, but what I like to do is take that 4 and of course bend it up to the 5. Like this is your 5 here. So bending up here is going to give you this tension physically in the bend, and also this 5. Okay, this 5 is a very powerful note, as discussed on my channel pretty much in every video. And so listen to now how I can call with minor thirds and 5s, and I can bring it home simply to this one. So listen for the call, and you're going to hear the question, and then I'm going to bring it home. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. So there I did a kind of a little response, and I kind of like gave an extra answer right at the end. I hit that root note, and then I came back and gave another answer. Like, this is the type of car I want. Oh, and by the way, I want, rims. You just answered with a second answer. So what we're going to talk about here is listening for this stuff. You want to develop the sense of when you're playing tension and when you're playing release here. And the tension, or the call and response tension release, is about you listening to what's happening, and it's not about necessarily hunting these notes down in real time. If you're a player that really just kind of like meanders around the pentatonic and tries to hear what you're doing and kind of feel it out, you'll start to recognize where you are as tension or release. And the way you want to recognize that is really listen. Here's a quick analogy I've talked to my students. If somebody put you into a soundproof room with all the triangular black foam, they had two like $50,000 speakers in front of you, and they said, okay, we're going to play some sounds for you, tell us what you hear, and we're going to test out these speakers. And the first sound is a crackling fire. You can say, okay, that's a crackling fire. And the second sound, you can hear kind of like water running like a river, and you say that's kind of like a brook or a river or spring. And say, great. Now picture what sound they would play if you would hear an archer taking their bow and pulling it back, and the crackling of the wood and the strings getting tense. That sound that you would hear come out of your speakers and how it would make you feel is how you want to start paying attention to your solo. Do you feel that tension brewing? And as you play, do you want to pull it back more, or do you want to release it? And that comes up to your type of styling, but involves you listening. All right, so now a couple of quick things. We're nowhere near done. Let's keep on having fun. That rhymed. Here we go. So the flat third is a question. The 4 bent to the 5 is a question. The flat 7, or here, is another call. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try calling with a flat third, maybe a 4 bent to a 5, and definitely flat 7. I'm not going to resolve yet on the root note. Now, fun fact is, as you're soloing, you don't have to avoid the root note. You can play it, but you just don't want to stop on it. If I do a line like, yeah, I hit the root note here, but I just didn't stop on it. You graze right over it. Not until you punch it or land on it and mean it is it the resolve. So listen for some flat thirds, or watch for some flat thirds. Watch for some 4s bent to the 5s. Watch for a flat 7 here or here. And again, I'm just going to resolve to here, and then I'll show you some cool magic afterwards. Let's see if we can get this all together. That as I play this, that it is kind of creating this like, okay man, like get to that home, get to that resolve. And it's really fun to do if you're listening for it. Now let's talk about another resolve that I really like doing. Well, when you play this minor pentatonic, this is your flat 7 here, but you can always take a flat 7 and bend it up 2 frets to your root. There it is. And when you try to end on a bent flat 7 up to a root, it creates resolve, but it creates this like motion of getting there that's tense, and then you get to the resolve, and it's really fun to do. So listen for my calls and listen for my resolves, or my answers, and let's see if we can get this all done. I can really do this all day. It's very, very like mouth-watering to me to really listen and build up those conversations. So hopefully I'm doing my job and just showing you that you can create these questions with any one of these intervals, and you can do it on the 4. I just happen to like the minor third, the 4 bent to the flat 5 and flat 7, but the 4 is a contender. You use it to stall on, and you don't have to necessarily go home right away. You don't have to go like, here's my call, here's my response. You can do here's my call or my question, here's another question, here's another question, here's another question, okay, fine, I'll give you some answers. And you want to play with this. Now, let's talk about some practical applications of this. A cool fun fact about the guitar is there's only like 4 to 5 octaves maybe of every note. So what I mean by that is this is where that minor jam cheat sheet video that I have will really help you out. Is if you look at how many A's are on this, I'm playing an A like Dorian groove, I have an A minor pentatonic, so we're really going to try and find our A's. So we have one here, which is same as the open A string, same thing. So there's one, there's an octave here, which is same as the guy here. So there's 2 of them. There's 3, which is here. A little out of tune, and then and then the last one is up here. Okay, there's 4 A's. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's all we got. And so what you want to try and do is find the pentatonics around these guys. And so my form 1, I definitely have this guy here. Great. I have this guy in the form 1. Now this guy, I like it. I usually bend up. But if you want to take it here, you're in your form 2 pentatonic. Now, if I said we're only going to do this in form 1, but that was just for the learning. Now I'm kind of applying it. I can move up to my form 2 anytime I want. I know where my root note is, and you'll learn where the minor thirds are. And now this takes care of this root note, and this root note. And then when I'm done here, I can jump up to this root note here and kind of like, resolve up here. And what you're doing is you're building your tension in your story through getting to these different root notes as you climb. And then when you peak out, you can kind of come back home and then end on the low root note, which is kind of what I like to do. So let's see if we can see that happening in person. Let's see if you can try that too. You just need to know your form 1, a bit of a form 2, and how to jump up to your form 1. The minor jam cheat sheet has it done in form 4, so you can kind of like do it in form 4. But if you can do this as like a quote-unquote easy method and just listen to what you're doing, it's going to help you out tremendously. So let's see if we can get some like sultry, sexy playing with this type of mentality, jumping to root note. it the best example in the world? Oh, heck no. But I had so much fun listening to see if I can create that tension and that resolve depending on my taste buds. So I hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope that it made sense. Really the call and response of calling with your intervals, responding when you want to. You can do double answers or double responses, but you want to listen to what's happening, let it hit your taste buds, and let it sustain when you have that question, like a real question. And if you listen to some Santana, you really hear him doing this a lot. Now, he does this with some other modal scales and pentatonics, but nonetheless, it starts here. So practice this and practice it well. Take it to your band or jam groups and try doing this and make everybody salivate, and you go have an awesome day. And thank you for watching StichMethod. Make sure you share and subscribe and have a beautiful day. All right, bye.